Guys, Steve here with FBTV. Let me walk you through the things that I would do if you're bringing in a new dog, especially if it's between 4 and 5 months old, realistically, even 8 and 12 weeks, especially if they don't use our process. Now, our process is extensive, as you know, in terms of making sure that the pups leave super confident, and I wouldn't recommend everyone do it unless you've got the kind of time on your hands. For us, I can't stand a dog that lacks confidence. So let me walk you through what we're doing and what we're seeing and how we're integrating the Central Asian Shepherd into the home. Now, objectively, we brought this dog in and it doesn't have a sense of self. When a dog doesn't have a sense of self, it is your job to make sure you don't destroy what doesn't exist, and that's its confidence. You don't want to create insecurities. You definitely don't want the dog to become defensive. If you think it's funny or cute for your dog to be introduced to your most confident dog, you could run into an issue that turns into a problem long term. Now, what are issues? Issues are things that we often can manage before they turn into problems. A problem is something we have to solve, which means 1 + 1 = 2. We've got to dead it. An issue, let me see, it's like a paper cut. You put a band-aid on. It's a problem, but it's not really a problem because you can still use your hand. Losing a finger, that could be a problem. I mean, I cut my thumb off, so you get it. You get it. But point is this. What are we doing right now? I sped up the process the other day by taking the Central Asian out with Tron. He came from an environment where there's a lot of dogs and used to a lot of noise, and I'm pretty sure at some point he was, running around and rummaging with his siblings and just other dogs in general. So I said, Tron is our best dog to invite new dogs into the home. Why? Tron's not going to go check a dog. He's not going to react to a dog. He's not going to push the dog too much. He knows how to play and be cool. Ego wants to check you and see who you are, what you're about. That's a problem with a dog who doesn't know who it is yet. Second, you turn around and if we introduce him to one of his other dogs who's super defensive, super defensive, now you create fear in the home and you start creating reactivity. You don't want two dogs to react to each other, to be clear. Third thing, the third dog that we wouldn't ever invite the dog around a dog who's kind of skittish, and they have this nice rescue here, and she was abused, to be clear. She's not fond of men. I've got her to come up to me a few times and slowly but surely, say I let her out. Hey, go to the bathroom with her pack per se, the other two female dogs, and she does pretty good. But think about who you want your dog to be. For one, you want it to be the best dog for you, so you got to spend time with it. Second, make sure it's around the dog who's most level-headed. For the most part, mine are level-headed, but they play rough. They do. Again, Tron's the easiest to manage this dog. So what you're seeing is the dog and Tron having some time together. What you're watching is Jamal leaving a leash. Dog, we put a leash on the dog just stopped, sat down, didn't want to do it. Today he was able to walk the dog from the room outside with the leash on. Fast forward, goal is to get the dog out once we get it leash trained into as many environments as possible. The more confident, if you want your dog more confident, especially when it doesn't come from a place where it's not bred ultimate confidence, and I'm not saying that's the case here, I'm just saying that confidence is a trait that you can install per se. And Zara's probably one of the most confident dogs I have. So if you have a Zara pup, you understand. Okay. So the point is faster we can get him on the leash, faster we can get to the city market.
Let's get him, man. That's some good people right there, boy.
We can get into some places that we like to go and make sure the dog gets out and be seen. We can get him to a couple parks, make sure he starts getting his conditioning up, and then see where his limitations are. And then begin to push him so Jamal's becoming his person. Part of the process is making sure that he feels comfortable and confident in the home. So every step is, hand feeding. We fasted him for 2 days or a day and a half, and then we gave him a Cornish hen, which is where I like to start with introducing the dog to raw. Poop has been fine, poop has been solid. Today, we'll give him some chicken legs. Then we'll add some chicken legs and chicken wings. Then we'll turn around and add some chicken legs, chicken wings, and chicken breasts. And I know people, chicken is bad for the dog. Depends on where you get it from. I tell you this, if you have a local butcher, it's a lot easier to give or get the dog the chicken that it needs without creating more allergies, especially because they take a little bit more care in making sure that their chickens are eating healthy. And by the end of this week, we'll all run a light deworming on the house. So what does that mean? Get your parental pomade and deworm the dogs. Every dog gets a little deworm booster to make sure that because he's now been in here a little bit, that he's not passing anything along. And to be clear, the only dog he's come in contact with is Tron, but there's still poop in the yard and we clean up. But point is that poop is where a dog could step in it and it transfer, and then boom, you kind of, now you got worms, and you don't want that, especially roundworms. I believe you'll see the dog throw up a little blood, a little red. So guys, behavior is probably one of my favorite things. I normally don't personally like dealing with a dog that has behavioral problems. Let me be clear in saying Ice is a dog's name. He doesn't have any behavioral problems. He literally just doesn't know who he is. And if you get him on the leash and he didn't listen, Jamal FaceTimed me one morning at 8 o'clock. He was like, I was knocked out too. He said, yo, I put the leash on him. Should I drag? I said, ooh, do not drag him. Don't pull him or nothing. And when I took the leash off, he said he followed me everywhere. The dog is not familiar with so many things. But it'd be like this, people. If you walked into an environment, you walked into a new school, you walk into a new office, there's an uncomfortability there. You walk into a space where you're the odd man out, there's an uncomfortability there. And you don't, a lot of times, know what to say or what's going on. So you kind of stand off to the corner, and then someone approaches you who's familiar with what's going on. Say, hey, how are you? I'm so-and-so. And that slow introduction. And what do they start doing? They start walking you through the room. And as they walk you through the room, you become more confident as you get more comfortable meeting people who potentially are like minds if you're in the business world. And just like we was kids at one point in school, you got more cool with what was happening in the school as you got more familiar with the people in the school. And then you found your lane and you stayed in it. Same thing when you're bringing a new dog in. Don't push too hard. Don't press the dog. Let the dog learn about your ways. Don't be aggressive with the dog, especially if it isn't a terrier breed. Let me be very clear. This process would look way different if it was a 5-month-old terrier or pit bull, because those jokers, they operate at a different level, and they gonna do some testing. They gonna do some testing. So pace yourself, people. As always, take care of your dogs. Don't forget to subscribe and comment below if you're having behavioral problems. I'm not a behavioralist, but I've always managed behavioral problems to the best of my ability. And I will say this. I'll end it with this. I saw somebody reached out, and I say, man, why is it that you couldn't work with Bam Bam's, some of his things? And it's like this, we don't always put people down. I said, yes, they do. Capital punishment's a real thing, and I'm not saying he's not a bad dog, but if I start quantifying what type of problems he can create in a home, most people don't like robbers, thieves, and liars. In fact, in the Bible it says God hates a liar. Here's the thing. At some point, he becomes more sure of himself, meaning Bam Bam. Then he becomes aggressive towards the other dog. And now him and Ego potentially are always fighting. And if someone was whooping your kid's butt every day, or they were fighting every day, you would not have peace. And when we quantify 10 years and how to get there, it's these moments with Ice, the Central Asian Shepherd, that remind me why it's important to have a home that can be managed correctly by putting the work in, to be clear, but having the right dogs. Every now and then, there is a bad dog or a dog that's not that good that comes out of the pack. And you have to live with that. You do have to live with that. It's my failure. It's my fault. It's my opportunity. It's everything. But you have to live with your choices. And the goal is to better things. And you cannot better things unless you're willing to make the hard choices when they have to be made. So guys, thank you for watching. Continue to take care of your dogs. Remember to pace yourself.